Hello, welcome back to my channel. My face is breaking out and I'm not sure how to deal with it because I think it's from overdose of caffeine. Anyway, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I want to talk about getting to know yourself really well is the key to success. But I think the key to success is a big call. So I think I just want to preface it by saying getting to know yourself is the key to a comfortable life is probably a lot more accurate. I guess I just want to talk about how I think as people, especially if you're neurodivergent, you're always going to be asked to fit into society and the environment around you rather than having the environment around you to fit you, which I think is how you should find this out by yourself, meaning you need to figure out like what who you are so that you can find an environment that fits you. And I think that would be the narrative for this particular video. So that's my angle of basically you have to figure out who you are so you can have a comfortable life. And of course, like it would start with something really simple. It's like I don't know if you know this, but in China in the very olden days, there used to be a custom of feet binding. It basically means when children, women basically bind their feet so that it would become small, so it would fit the shoes that they were using back then. And a lot of these practices are very brutal. There's a lot of times where they basically break the foot of the children to fit into this particular style of shoes. And I'm using this example for the first eh, for the first topic is basically by using this example as feet to fit into the shoes is basically how neurodivergent is trying to function in society. We are breaking ourselves, trying to make ourselves smaller so that we can fit into the shoes. The shoes, basically society and environment. And I feel like that's not the way you should have it. I feel like I think the best way to move forward is to find a way to figure out what your feet are like, what your feet shapes are like. Are they narrow? Are they flat? Are they rolling in or rolling out when you walk? Are they wide? Are they um, how are your toes going? Are your toes are all aligned? Are they widespread? And all of these things, right? Like I know feet are probably a very far off metaphor from what life should look like, but I feel it's a very apt example because the way we figure out whether someone is civilized or not in this society is whether they're wearing any kind of footwear or not. Maybe it's not as important as in Australia because you can walk around barefoot and no one's gonna blink and no one's gonna bat an eyelid because we are not particularly fond with shoes sometimes, especially if you live very near to the coastline. Um, but if you're Asian like me, for example, if you watch a lot of Korean dramas, they make a very high cultural context when it comes to shoes. It's like if you don't have shoes, that means you either are in a very uh, unstable emotional state or you are you're very poor that you couldn't afford shoes, so it kind of symbolizes a lot of things for footwear. Like, if you see like Korean dramas, for example, when they run out and they're wearing their home shoes, for example, their home sandals, the sandals that they wear inside the house and they're wearing it outside, it just means like they're probably in high distress emotional state that they forgot to change their footwear. So that's just an example, but I guess I just wanted to say that getting to know yourself is a bit like that. You have to figure out what type of feet you have so that you can find shoes that fit with it. When I was growing up, because I feel like because I'm Asian and the culture is still very much trying to fit into the environment, I think I was so trying to fit my shoes into this really tiny dainty shoes, right? And my feet are not that, my feet are wide. I have to wear a Hoka white D shoes, and they're still a bit too small for me. So I'm gonna aim later when I have money to buy an E white shoes. Basically, it's really wide. And even when I wear like a dupe croc sandals, they're still a bit too small for me. So my feet is not long, it's not too long. It's still like within 38, 39 type of shoe size, but they're wide. So it's really hard to find shoes that are fitting because a lot of the women's shoes are narrow. So my feet are always going to feel like it's suffocated and it won't fit into any of the shoes that I usually buy. And I have stopped wearing uncomfortable shoes for over a decade now, especially ever since I stopped being employed. So, and I haven't had too much issues with my feet in terms of circulation after that. But before that, it was, I could remember the nail beds in my pinky toes were all black because they had to fit in into and squash into shoes that were small, even though they're not small in, when you compare them. No, when you think about the norm in society, it's considered quite wide, but for my feet, it was considered too small. And I think that's very important if you want to be comfortable in society. You have to figure out what you are and what type of person you are as well. And it also have to be really practical. It's like your body shapes, for example. You have to figure out like which brand fits you clothes wise. For example, I remember like about few days ago I was wearing a singlet top, and it the size that the label says on the singlet was saying it was a size 14, and it was too small. And I thought to myself, oh my god, am I fat? And then I took it off, and then I put a different singlet on, and it fits me just fine. And it was a size 10 label on the inside of the clothes. And I realized like these labelings are really misleading and they really can't be relied on. And the only thing you can rely on is how it feels when you wear them in your body. So your body should be the main measurement of how it fits, about how what you bring from the outside world would fit into your world. And I feel like that's why you need to know your body, you need to know yourself. And I think it also applies to work and friendship and just building anything in life. It's like you have to figure out, for example, if you are functional in the morning or whether you are functional at night or whether you're functional in the evening. You have to figure out, like, and when I say like knowing yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean like in a airy fairy type of way. I mean like in a very practical sense, like what I'm basically just been talking about, like your shoes, like your fit. If you want to know what type of shoes you need to buy, that means you need to know what type of feet you have. So if you want to know what kind of work environment you can thrive on, you need to know what kind of person you are and what your personality is and what your energy level is like and what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, in the most honest way, in a way that you don't have to talk about it to someone else. You just have to know that that's you. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, honesty. Because I can see, like, if you're a neurotypical, like, you can always sense, like, someone is a neurotypical when they start lying, when there's this sense, like, no, my feet are not that big, it's really small. Of course, it can fit into these really tiny shoes. I feel like that's more like a neurotypical problem, like people that like the most important bit is how they're being perceived by society. But I feel like most of us, I guess, neurodivergent people are basically we're just trying to survive. We're just trying to survive, and we're just trying to, because like I think trying to make ourselves fit into society is a really huge suffering to the nervous system. Like we can't do that. Like in our brain, it feels like torture, which I think maybe for some neurotypicals, it would be considered like a worthy sacrifice, but we can't think it like that. It's because it's not like that. It's just not. It's going back to the first example of fit binding. For us, is basically is torture, but I think maybe for people who are not neurodivergent, it's just a practice that is common for everyone because everyone does it. So it's not it's not um, considered to be wrong, but just because it's common doesn't mean it's right. And I think knowing yourself is extremely important. So you need to track like practical and physical things in your life to make your life comfortable. That's like the base point. That's the baseline for any type of growth building that you need. And I think the best example of this in society is basically the 9 to 5 regime, or in Australia, it's the 7 to 3 tradie hours. Is basically they are fitting that into the male hormonal system, which is their hormonal testosterone is highest in the morning. So, and it wanes down in the afternoon. So 7 to 3 is very beneficial if you are a man, because that would be the best time for you to work, especially if it's a physical work. And it will fit your physical needs and your physical advantages, but it won't fit like if you're a woman, especially if you're menopausal or your hormone changes. I feel like if you're a woman, you probably will need a different schedule. You will need to find how your body works and how your body is managing energy. And that's extremely important because if you know that, if you know how your body works, how your body produces energy when it peaks and when it mellows, then you can apply some type of strategies to implement that particular output, and you can work around that, and you can find work that is fitting to that particular energy pattern. It's like how men created the 7 to 3 or 9 to 5 so that they can work with the energy pattern. And I think it's important, and I don't think no one will be able to make it for you. You have to come up with it yourself. You have to make your life very custom tailored to you. And mm, I guess it's also important because it's also important to build relationship, right? Because if you know yourself, if you know that you get cranky if you don't eat, for example, then you need to eat before you meet with someone so that you don't lash out on them. Or if you know that you're insecure about this particular topic, maybe you want to stay away from that topic so you don't become a foolish person when you're talking to another person. This type of things I feel is very important, and the best way to navigate the world and be comfortable is to know yourself so that you don't feel like the world is attacking you, because the world is always going to attack you. But I guess the only way to know is what you are and how you work, and so that you can see and tell the universe or people or things around you is like, no, that doesn't work for me. It's like when someone offers you a pair of shoes, for example, if they offers you like a shoes that are like two sizes too small and like too narrow, you can't you don't have to get offended. You can just say, no, you won't fit my feet because my feet are not that size and it's the wrong size. And I think that's just the way you should navigate the world. It's just if you know your size, then you know like what you can accept and what you cannot. And You don't have to push yourself to fit in into any type of sizes that are not yours. And this way, I think you can be more comfortable in walking life. You just have to know yourself. I think that would be a great argument, wouldn't it? Anyway, if you're new here, my name is Valourine. I yap here in 2025 on YouTube and do a bit of vlogs here and there. And yeah, I also do other things. I'm a solopreneur, so I have like things being sold online. You can check out the description box below. Also, until the 31st of March, ING Australia is giving away $125 for new customers. You have to do a few steps though before you can get that. So you can check it out. The link in the description box below for more information. And thank you for listening this far. And if you want to hang out with me and just keep each other's company for this year, just click like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.